our work right now on the planet is to bring honoring and sanctity to the invisible just as much as the visible. The invisible results are things like feeling good, things like feeling connected, things like our health, our well-being, a feeling of joy, pleasure.
Embodiment can't be faked. Once you're in an open state where you actually can see through a clear lens, you're not clouded by fear, you're not clouded by the amygdala, you're not clouded by the society's news and all the fear-based stuff, and you're just with you. Then you get to decide where you think we actually are.
It is possible to navigate pain with grace.
Energy is information. We're here to experience the full spectrum.
That worthiness is hard for you. There's nothing wrong with you. It is a muscle that we kind of have to learn how to access. You are not disempowered, and you have power in every area of your life all the time.
I believe that chronic illness is an opportunity for us to heal.
Health, it's a choice. Listening to your body if you so choose.
My prayer for the world would be that they would know the infinite love of God.
Aloha and welcome to the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast with your host, Jen Mons. Join me each week for soul-inspired, conscious conversations around awakening to your soul purpose through 5-element well-being. Thank you so much for joining in. So many of us have this deep desire to know, am I living my purpose? And the question that always comes up is, can I perform well when I'm in my purpose? Can I bring in the income? Can I remain balanced? Can I be everything that I need to be for everyone that's in my life? Can I fulfill the different roles that I carry in my life? I've been coaching amazing, extraordinary women for nearly 17 years. Many of them high performing. I can relate to this. I have shifted the words around who I support to purpose-driven in order to give permission to those women to let go of the need to perform. Today's conversation is about purpose-driven versus performance-driven. Are you living in purpose, or are you allowing the expectations that you put on yourself or that you believe others have of you to drive your behaviors and your decision? This conversation became very apparent to me many years ago, but even more so recently, as the mother of two amazing daughters, one who is 18 and studying fashion business in Florence, Italy for 4 years, and the other one who is currently 15, a competitive surfer, which we travel quite a bit to support her to following her dreams. And as long as I've supported women, and I mean extraordinary, amazing women, everything from doctors and lawyers to Top Gun flight instructors to data analysts to nurse practitioners, I've worked with truly amazing women that have always valued the value that they provide and are often reminded through our work together that it's very likely that their 50% is what others might consider 100%. And I'm really passionate about leading women into this paradigm shift of embodied leadership, where we lead from within by who we be rather than what we do. And we start by leading the example. And one of the shifts that I've really been working on my entire life and always shedding new levels is letting go of the performance factor. There are 3 things that really come to mind that will help you understand whether you're performance driven or purpose driven in your work. And my intention is to help you gain an understanding of where you are and give you some insight to what you might want to lean into. I will just stand with clarity and say that although I'm pretty anti-hustle boss babe, I'm also not a believer that you can magically manifest without taking aligned action. I believe that because I witness what seems like miracles all the time, energetically. I was just speaking with one of my clients yesterday who we did a private retreat planning roadmap session, and how fun it was that as soon as she signed up to work with me, which was a fairly nice investment, the energy automatically opened her up to receiving, and the financial means came to her in a new way within a week, which I thought was really cool. I also wasn't surprised. I've seen it happen many times. There's something that shifts in our energy because prosperity is the energy of embodied trust, that when we make a clear decision that is aligned with our intention and where we want to go in life, whether we're working towards a goal or a result, when we take aligned action, so action that is in alignment with our values and our goals, that's when it seems like magic is happening. And we also approach the challenges as the opportunities, as the places of clarity where things aren't working, so that we have more clarity on how to stay in alignment. It's really shifting the perception rather than freezing in victimhood or turning the other way or projecting or blaming others for what isn't working out. So the first divining factor between purpose-driven and performance-driven is whether you are internally motivated or externally motivated. If you are purpose-driven, what does this mean? It's when you decide to take the action and to move forward, to claim something, to be something that is wired deep within you. You can feel it. You might not be able to explain it, but you just know that this is the thing that you're meant to do. You're probably very good at it. It probably comes with ease. It likely brings you joy. You're internally motivated to do the work, to show up. You have consistency, you have commitment, you have dedication, and maybe even devotion to that which you are working towards. It's bigger than you. That level of commitment creates an impact. When you get to a place of feeling achieved or satisfied or fulfilled, you feel resourced. And because you love this thing that you do so much, it feels like joy or maybe generosity to find a way to give back. And it's just something that comes naturally. You don't have to force it. And you find that there are people there to support you. But most importantly, this desire, this motivation, it comes from within. If you're performance driven, you're externally motivated. So let's take a high performing athlete, for example, motivated by their sponsors, motivated by their paycheck. let's take a corporate person, where we all have performance reviews. I even do, I guess, what you would call a performance review with my assistants that help me run my business. But we spend a lot of time talking about the learning process, what their personal intentions and goals are in their personal life, and where they want to learn and grow supporting me and my business. So it's not really a numbers thing, whether you're meeting something or not meeting something. It's really more about how is the experience and how are you feeling about the results that you're getting and the things that you're learning. When you're performance driven, you're very externally motivated. And what happens when we're externally motivated is if we're not getting the results that somebody else wants us to get, or even that we think we're supposed to get, we can often feel frustration. However, when we're purpose-driven, there isn't really a measure because it's a way of being versus a way of doing. So purpose-driven is a way of being. It's an embodiment of the person that you need to be in order to be the goal or the vision or the dream that you see for yourself. While performance-driven is measured on the action and the results in order to get to be the person that you want to be. Both are important. A purpose-driven person can still allow results and measures to guide them. The difference is that a purpose-driven person does not allow the results to define them. A performance-driven person, their results define them. Another difference is that a purpose-driven person, whether you're a business owner, an athlete, you're in leadership in your corporate job, you're a teacher, whatever your role is, you're looking at the big picture. You realize that things take as long as they take. You're not looking for immediate results. You're not looking for external validation. You're doing what you know is aligned with you and your values. And it looks different than what everybody else is doing. Because the purpose-driven leader is the sustainable, true path of leadership where you embody the person that is the vision. The performance-driven person or leader looks at short-term results. What is happening right now? And can often, again, experience frustration or projection, blame, when the results are not met, when the performance indicators are not met. So, funny little side note on all of this is that my first job out of college was to be a performance engineer. I literally was a mechanical engineer, and my role was to test all different types of equipment and write reports on how they were performing versus what the expected performance was. And can you guess the average performance rate of machinery or even people? From that job, I went to another company, which I ran manufacturing lines, and we always had performance reports. And I would say, looking back over those years when I worked corporate as an engineer in manufacturing and as a test and performance engineer, the average high success rate for performance in machinery and operation lines was in the low to mid 80s. And most of us are trying to run it 100%. I just had this thought that was really interesting to share. What would happen if we gave ourselves permission to think that our 80 to 85% was good enough. It was like 100%, like we're celebrating it. Because the reality of what I learned in the work that I did in testing many, many different types of very well-known pieces of equipment is that an 85% performance rate is pretty good. What do we call that in school? We call it a B. I think it's the grade of a B. And yet we all acknowledge the straight A student. Lastly, what I want to say is that you're likely purpose-driven when you lead from a place of being resourced. So you make decisions that are in alignment with your values. You ask yourself, is this the right time? Is this aligned with my values? Do I have to be the person to do this? Is this information that this person, this mentor, this coach is sharing with me, is this in alignment with me? Is this, what I need at this time? Is this type of exercise or this type of nutritional guidance, this team that I'm in charge of, whatever you are met with, whatever decisions you are making, you feel supported and resourced because you're internally motivated, because your commitment is to stay in alignment with your core values, your style of leadership, and your purpose. When we get outside of that box and when we allow other people's opinions and other people's measures and judgments and beliefs, even if it's our own parents, our boss, company measures. I mean, this is a constant battle in the corporate world because performance generates income. And so everything is performance-based. In fact, when you perform well, you often get a raise. It's not just the corporate world, it's in the professional athlete world. It's cars that perform well. They cost more. Everything that performs better is more of an investment. When you are performance driven in your business or in your job, in your role, you likely will experience exhaustion because it's not coming from a place of being resourced. It's not internally driven. So what's most important is not to really just identify where you are, because there's a time and a place for both. The difference is in the expectation or the attachment to the results. A purpose-driven person is able to release the attachment that any results or any judgment or belief or any role defines them. And so they're in it, again, for the big picture, for the long haul. They keep moving forward, and they realize that things take as long as they take. One step at a time, one day at a time, 1 year at a time, one performance at a time. Whereas the performance-driven person is constantly working to meet expectations and results. So it's shifting as a leader from the performance of doing to the purpose of being, and realizing that the qualities and characteristics and the gifts that are naturally part of who you are, and this could be everything from your physical talent to your ability to work hard, because not everybody has different levels of that. That is the ability to commit and to be dedicated is a talent. And that those are our purpose, to reconnect with the things that are naturally a part of us, to identify the areas where our opportunities and our challenges are, but not to let either one define us. Because if we do, we might be missing something bigger that we're not open to. When we are focused clearly, solely, only on what defines us and the results, we could be closing doors to something that we didn't even know about existed, another part of ourselves. And our purpose is to really reveal those different aspects of ourselves, where we get to show up and do the thing that internally drives us, comes naturally to us, that brings us joy, that lights us up, that ignites that spark within us, but also resources us. And when you finally decide that you're willing to step into that, you just realize there's no rush, because this is what you're here to do and who you're here to be. Thank you for joining in again this week, and I look forward to meeting up with you again on the podcast again. Aloha. Have a great day.
The content of this podcast is to educate, inspire, and inform you of pathways to an embodied healing self. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice from your medical doctor, therapist, registered dietitian, or nutritionist for any questions you may have regarding your diagnosis or condition.
Hello, friends, and thank you so much for joining again each week on the Body and Soul Wisdom podcast. I am so deeply honored to share this space with you every week. I know that there are many other podcasts that you could be tuning into, and our community is expanding and growing more with each new episode. I'd like to invite you to come on over to jenmons.com/tribe and receive some of the wonderful gifts that we have for you: a meditation bundle, energetic alignment, 5-element wealth, prosperity consciousness. We have a ton of different gifts available for you to enjoy. Now, we have one small favor to ask. In order for this podcast to get into the hearts and souls of like and light-minded people, we need your support. We would love your review, and would love it if you'd head on over to jenmons.com/podcast to leave a review or leave one on iTunes, so that we can continue to share the love beyond out into the world. Thank you so much again for joining in. We'll see you next week.